good evening everybody. A believer, a doer, an achiever, a voice, an expression, a catalyst, an extraordinaire, a role model. That's how we define women. Now, these are the words that are synonymous with a woman. And this International Women's Day, this was the theme that we were celebrating women who were symbolizes be you and be the bold. I'm so thankful to be in the company of so many examples, right? Female employees at Hafele and the franchises, and I have two important celebrities with us. Let me introduce all of them to you. We have Ms. Padma Gupta, Director HR and Consumer Experience Hafele South Asia. And I guess the Hafele team and the partners know ma'am very well. I mean, they have been interacting with her for last over 11 years, right? She has been with us for 11 years and she has, mastered the NLP and lot many things to her credit. Our second guest is Ms. Shilpa Singh. Some of you, and if not all of you, know her as former Miss India 2012. She represented India in the Las Vegas Miss Universe contest, and there she was the semi-finalist as well. A proud moment for all of us, the 130 billion people. Right? Let me request Baba ma'am to present a bouquet to and welcome Ms. Shilpa. I would now request Ms. Shilpa Singh to say, experience how her journey has been, and because when we look at the theme of be bold, be you, we somehow thought that she is one of those role models who symbolize this, this concept of be bold and be you. And
thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Very flattering. I don't even know what to say. It's very, very flattering. And also a very happy Women's Day to everybody present here and on the call. And beautiful thing that you said about women in general, like the way you introduced it, I thought it was wonderful. So thank you for saying that. And so privileged to be here amongst all of you. And also it was a great excuse to be out of office on Friday. So that's a bonus. And I love the theme. I love the theme when you mentioned that it was about being bold. And I myself, I think when I heard about the theme, it was a moment of introspection for me. Like I was self-reflecting as to what being bold means to me. And I'm sure a lot of you here present on the call, the age group is from this varied age groups and varied life experiences. And just to me, since the time I started my career and did the pageant, went back to job, I think the definition of bold for me has evolved so much. Like when I started when I was young, just after college, I think I associated being bold with taking risk in life, and I used to never take risks. I was a very take safe options, do things that parents are asking you to do. So I was more of those kinds. So when the first time I was out of my house exploring my career, so I think that's when I thought it was risk taking. Dunya ko dikhana hai types, you wanna do that. And while that was great, because I think a lot of people associate that how well you take risk, and that makes you a bold person. When I participated in the pageant, it was not a risk. Like now when I think about it, it was not a risk-taking moment for me. It was more of getting to know what I really want. It was a moment of exploration for me, and I was doing it unconsciously. It was not a planned move. However, what that experience did to me, I was obviously the opportunity to represent India at a Miss Universe pageant was amazing. Like I will always cherish that moment. But what it did to me as an individual was so much more. It was so much more than just a title holder. Now it's been 10 years, but every time today also, I feel a moment where I feel like not very confident or something. it gives me some sort of strength. Okay, maybe I did that. I do have a, like, I think I can take this also. Like, I can take it. So if that confidence comes from there, and and moving forward as I experienced other things in life, I think being bold was not much of that. Instead of thinking about risk, I think it was more about identifying who you really are. That's why when I said be bold, it is actually about being you, being your authentic self. And funnily enough, you cannot be your authentic self till you have not understood yourself. And the best way to understand yourself is to probably put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And best to do it early in life, not that you can't do it later in life, but best to do it early in life. Put yourself, failures, uncomfortable situations, out of your comfort zone. That's when you know that these are my limits. This is what I'm good at. This is what I'm bad at. All of this information about yourself will actually help you be your true self. And I think one of the ways, and I don't know if a lot of you can relate to this, but sometimes I feel like there was a phase in life where I'm like, this everybody is doing, so I will do this, okay, and to stand out. But then I realized that how is it different from doing what everybody else? In either ways, you are dictating your decision based on what other people are doing. So I think कि बाकी लोग क्या सोच रहे हैं, what other people are thinking, external validation, I think it's very important to disassociate yourself from that. And honestly, I'm not claiming that I have disassociated myself from that. I have my own challenges. Last week only I was facing this problem. Almost every week I have one crisis where I am trying to, do something, and it's a very, it's every day. It's a privilege. It's a privilege of your lifetime to know yourself. So it's not a one-day affair. It's not that, I spent 2 years knowing myself, now I know myself. No. You have to do that every single day. And the more you know yourself, the more authentic you'll be. And being bold will just be a byproduct of it. Because you just act how you're supposed to act. You will say what you believe in, and if you say what you believe in, if you do what you believe in, automatically the results are going to be great. And I hate giving this gyan to you because I'm not perfect either. But the thing is that I have at least identified that every day I have to try this one single thing. I have to figure out who am I, and I'll get to know that by maybe this situation and every experience, life experience that it has to offer. So I think that's one thing, one theme. And generally I think that has been the guiding principle, and coming back to work was never a problem for me because, sorry, is somebody saying?
No.
Request others to please.
Not clear.
Just mute everybody. I think somebody is.
Oh. Okay, so my voice is not very clear. But anyway, I think that's one thing I wish I could share with you, because that's something that I wish somebody had told me very early on in life. I wouldn't have spent so much time trying to figure out what other people want instead of trying to figure out what I want. So I think I would leave with all of you with that message from my side, and because all of you are great, like amazing selves, and so I think over to you. I think you.
Obviously, I somehow recall one instance where I heard Shilpa in a TED talk where she was, I think IIT Delhi, that was the TED talk that was. She was speaking about how there's a magic beyond the comfort zone, right?
Yes.
Right, that I recall one of those, right?
Yeah.
And in fact, that was one of the pictures also you started by showing a picture which was at, I think, US only, part of the pageant.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Well,
Fun picture.
Yes.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Oh, yes, of course. That was actually yeah.
But then the whole concept of magic beyond the comfort zone.
Yeah.
That is. Why don't you speak a couple of lines on that? Because
Absolutely.
when you're poking people to understand yourself, right, you are asking them to go out of the comfort zone, not follow the the framework that the society has, right? For us, fall in a set pattern. You have to go out of the comfort zone to understand yourself and what really you really want. So, Navid, I would request you to say a couple of things on that.
Yeah. Magic happens beyond your comfort zone. Yeah, that's one of my favorite. I think it was definitely one of the life-changing realizations. And so So okay, if you're talking about that specific incident, basically when I was participating in the pageant, I had no idea about anything. Okay, like I did know about it, and you have a certain perception that pageant and Sushmita Sen, Aishwarya Rai, and you have a certain like a larger than life view of how pageants are, how women are there, and then you look at yourself, and I think I'm sure a lot of like most women I know, you have a tendency to not give yourself a lot of credit. Like if I ask you like in the call, and right now whoever is present here, take like one moment in your head, think about I am remarkable because try to fill the sentence. I have seen women struggle with filling up that sentence so much. Like I'm sure like in your head, I don't know how many of you feel that, but yeah, just try doing that, and please build a great narrative for you, because if you're struggling to fill that sentence, that's not a good thing. And I'm sure all of you guys are remarkable, but find that, fill in that blank, please. So now going back to what I was saying. So as usual, putting myself down, but then I think one thing that kept me going was I was honestly quite lost in life, and I was trying to figure out, like I was saying, right, I've always followed the rules. I've always followed, okay, do engineering, do 12, whatever, board exams, engineering, get a job, do your MBA. So I think I started with that kind of a mindset, and at some point I realized that, okay, something is off, like I feel like I need to do something, I need to know myself, because I don't know when I have done something that I wanted to. And the pageant decision was a consequence of that decision. I think the great thing about that experience was that because I was not looking to win the pageant itself, I think I was more focused on, I'll go there and I will try to learn. Every day, all amazing women around me, and Sushmita Sen was the mentor. So I was like, okay, every day I'm going to become like a sponge, like a water sponge, like it absorbs everything. So I'm like, that's going to be my agenda. Every day I wake up, I'm going to become like sponge, try absorb everything. I mean, I couldn't even walk in heels. I didn't know how to apply makeup. Okay, pretty bad at it still, but yeah, that time I was very bad. So at that point, I think when you went there, I think when I did end up going there, I think everything looks amazing, shiny, and all that. But I think another very important learning came from there was with what I think you were referring to. When you look at a picture of a model or somebody or a photograph which is basically highly stylized, highly I would say orchestrated. Behind the scenes are very different. Like I realized when I was there, I'm like, okay, I know a lot. There is a certain picture that is in front of you. But behind the scenes, they're all women like us. I realized every female there, every girl there who are probably established models, everyone had same set of insecurities, same struggles, same everything, and that was so awesome. Like for me, that was a great moment of learning because all the women fabulous. Everybody had same share of insecurities, and they were just trying to learn and be better each day. So pictures and everything show just one side of reality. Behind, it's totally different. And as much as I had fun, I also realized in that phase that it's something is not great for me. And the biggest struggle for me, which I never anticipated, was the fact that once you win a pageant and anything, people have a certain expectation that, okay, so you win a pageant and you're supposed to do a movie, or you're supposed to go for modeling, and this is what, yeah, like there is
that's what your trajectory will be now.
Yeah, like, and then it's very difficult because I was myself pressurized, and it's very difficult. That I feel was a very important year in my life where I really struggled. And it was very funny for other people because I had supposedly won the pageant. It was supposed to be the best year of my life, but it wasn't. And it was very difficult because it was very difficult for me to shed this, because everybody around me is telling me that, oh, now you're famous and you can do this, and people have done this, pageant winners before you have done such amazing things, and now people are looking at you like you have to do the same thing. And I did try also. I'm like, okay, this is what is expected, this is what success is to the rest of the world. Forget what I want. I didn't even know what I want. And that was such a bad thing to do because I was not happy. I was just not happy. And I think at that point, I invested a lot of time. I think that 1 year I did some theatre, I did a lot of performance arts and everything, all in the effort to find myself again. Like I was talking about, finding your true self. I think if I talk about being bold, I think that was the boldest decision I took, was to not do any of the things what people were expecting me to do and go back to what I really want to do. And to shed that thing, to shed that judgment, to make yourself free from that judgment. Because honestly, people are not thinking about you the way you think about yourself. You feel like everybody is looking at you and judging you. Nobody is looking at you. People are busy with their own problems and they have their own insecurities to deal with. Nobody is thinking about me. I just went back to doing myself. It's about what I feel about what I'm doing about my life. And if I'm feeling great about what I'm doing, if my definition of success is working till 5 p.m., going home, walking my dog, or spending time with my family, that's success. So anyway, so I'm just saying that in terms of, I think that one important realization was, of course, and that realization would not have come to me if I had not stepped out of the comfort zone. Which is why I think even now, every time any challenge happens, it's a very good opportunity to actually, instead of trying to avoid the situation or play victim or whatever, I think those are natural reactions, even I do that. But I guess that take an opportunity to do some serious introspection, some beautiful learnings will come out about yourself. So next time, bad situation, see it as an opportunity to grow. Because you have like decades to live now. And true growth, while you'll always get promoted, bonuses, I think those things will keep happening. And you can measure that. But this growth that will happen when you're down and when, let's say, I did not get a good rating, you sit down with yourself and do that true talk to yourself. Like what did I actually do wrong? What is my strength and what is my weakness? Whatever it is, no need to tell anybody. There's no point. Have that conversation with yourself. As soon as you identify the areas to grow, next thing you know, you are growing. And that growth matters so much more than anybody else. Like your bosses can tell you, give you promotions, take you to the next level, but that growth stays with you for life.
Some words for us. Now, when you speak of growth, that's still like and appraisal and percentage.
I wish she just said it's not about appraisals and percentages.
That is important. That is important.
Right. So, Shilpa, I'm pretty sure that when you were on this exploratory mode of trying to understand about yourself and trying what you want to be, right, and then hence the bold decisions. Now, working in the corporate ladder, because quite a good amount of our audience is in that profile and in that sphere right now, where they are working for some corporate orders. So apart from the message that you said, is there anything specific that you want to say to them, that, or you want to tell them to break them with and again start on a different journey altogether, or just it's only about self-exploration? Because your graph has changed a lot, right?
Yeah.
From let me tell the audience who have not done the research that Shilpa is from a very modest background, is what I know, right? And then, like you said, being part of a pageant show, you say that you are not aware of cosmetics and you are not, right, from a typical, exposed to this kind of world, and then you won that contest, right? So that was part of one of the exploratory things that you did. And then after that, again, an MBA got that matter you did, right? And now working for Google, one of the best companies to work for, right? Are you saying that you have finally understood yourself, or is it going back to some years back? You said that it's learning every day, that is still happening, or is there a decent amount of comfort that okay, this is what thing I want to do, I want to stick to corporate, or is there some other Shilpa that you might be exposed to after a couple of years?
Do I know myself completely? No. It's like I was saying, it's like, I think you have to work at it every day. And almost every other week I have a moment where I'm confused. Like people keep saying, and you hear this a lot, listen to your heart. But my heart is saying 50 things all the time. So I don't know how to distinguish, and I don't know if you relate to this. So it's not that easy. So how do you understand, like in this situation, in any situation I face, there are always 2-3 voices in my head. Okay, maybe this, if I do this, my boss will be happy. If I do this, it'll be better for my learning. If I do this, my company will benefit. You know, there are always these moments, and this will happen in your personal life or professional life or any matter, like any decision you make. So in that moment, I think it's very important that you understand what is more important to you. Then it again comes down to knowing what is important to me. So which is why, because I struggle with this a lot every day, this journey of getting to know myself will continue. Every day I have to work. And the best way to know yourself, which I was telling you also earlier, that is probably put yourself in these situations and have these conversations with you. And in fact, there are 4 or 5 things that I think generally helps. There is one, have amazing mentors around you. That's also a great thing. And I think looking at the crowd here, I think you guys are lucky that you actually have female mentors. So I think having important mentors who can tell you truth about yourself and you also have the ability to take feedback, I think that's very important. Second thing, build a very strong narrative for yourself, like acknowledge what you're good at. Like I was saying earlier, I am remarkable because, please have a great narrative. Like if you don't think of an answer right now, please work, like by next year, next Women's Day, I think everybody should talk about it. Like everybody should have a great answer for that. The third thing is put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, already covered that. And second, please stop saying sorry and being guilty. I feel that is also something that women end up doing more. Again, I mean, I don't have statistics to quote here, but just by virtue of what I see around me, I think women have a tendency to say sorry a lot, and even after something has happened, they end up feeling guilty a lot. And guilty is fine, but I think it's not a very productive emotion. And I don't know if you guys can relate to it, but if I constantly, like, there is one thing of realizing what you did wrong and objectively correcting yourself. Like, I feel women are great. Like, I know when I've done something wrong, I go talk to my friend. I'm sure you all have your female friends where you go and talk to them. You see how you talk to your friends. You did nothing wrong. You're great. You're so good. This is nothing. You'll be so good and kind to your friend, but you are not very kind to yourself. Like when you do a mistake, you put yourself down a lot. So why are you not that forgiving to yourself as you are to your friend? And my female friends give me great advice all the time. And when they do a mistake, they feel really bad, like they are very hard on themselves. So I feel that whenever there is a mistake done, please don't go into that putting yourself down zone. That is a time when you can actually look for areas of growth and forgive yourself and move on, because nobody is thinking about it, only you are thinking about it. So next time the feedback happens, take objectively, identify area, work on it and grow and move on. So I think this helps both in personal front and corporate front as well.
Nice. Thanks. I mean, if I take 2 out of the 4 learnings, I may request ma'am, my mentor and a person who has been of great value to me in terms of the feedbacks and the guidance that you have given, ma'am. So let me ask you. So in the journey that you have had, and a substantial part has been with Hafele, we are lucky for that, right? But you have met so many people, right? And when here what Shilpa said of identifying yourself, being the person you are. Can you tell us few instances that have you met certain people, or were you part of such exploratory journey where you're trying to identify yourself, or if you have seen some abundance of yours?
So, lovely words. I think a lot of takeaways from what Shilpa said. I think one of the things that have always anchored me is, I think part of being bold for me always has been being ready to accept help and being ready to be open for support. So a lot of time we as women, and being a woman I can relate to it, a lot of time we get so hung up on being independent and being strong and I can do everything, and trust me, don't believe all these superwoman forwards which come on Women's Day. They are all nonsense. We are not superwomen. We are absolutely human. So a large part of being bold is also about accepting that I have a certain gap, I have a moment of weakness where I need to lean on somebody or something for support. I think one of the boldest thing which I get when I read through your profile and I went through your TED Talk, Shilpa, was the ability to walk away. when you know that it's not working and you feel, you know, the world is at your feet, probably in your case, you know, where you're looked upon as probably one of the most beautiful women in the country. I think that type of boldness to walk off and pursue what you really want to do is as real as probably some of us may relate when you are stuck in a situation and you feel that, you know, there's no way out of it. I think that boldness is probably similar to the boldness of being able to give everything and walk off and say, I will recreate myself. So I come from, I mean, most of our team here knows, of course. I think I grew up, when you say about being bold, I think for me being bold was about deciding who I don't want to be. So I knew from probably the time that I could think, was much as I love my parents, I was very clear that I don't want to be like my mom. I was very sure that I will be independent. I had no idea how. I had no clue what I'll be doing. My father was a scientist. He expected me to be a scientist and get married. I don't know what marriage has to do with that, but I think
it's an obvious thing that comes.
So I think one was the ego that, you know, I am a scientist, so I have a daughter who probably can become. So उसको भी scientist बना देते हैं, लेकिन फिर उसके बाद शादी करते हैं. So job वॉब की हम कोई बात नहीं करेंगे, हम शादी करते हैं. So sometimes, you know, it is also a trap where, you know, you feel good about it because you are, you know, making your parents happy, your husband happy, your children happy. But actually that is that moment. For me, boldness is just about a moment. It is that moment of decision making. Once you made the decision, I don't think there is any woman on the planet who can't walk the path. The dilemma is the decision. So एक बार अगर decide कर लिया कि, you know, I will go, it's like, you know, when you go for a walk and rather than going around in a small circle, you decide to go a larger distance and then you know you have to walk the way back. So the decision is when you decide, okay, I'll not take the small loop, but I'll go. Because then you are binding yourself to that decision. For me, that is the moment of truth where you made that boldness to continue.
I must accept that I am surprised when you said that I don't want to be. I mean, not many kids in our country and that you know that will not say, because typically the first word that the kids say is that I want to become like my father or like my mother, right? That's a very obvious thing that we hear, right? So
in some ways I totally want to be like my mother, you know, in the warmth and the softness and everything. But I would not want to be controlled the way she was controlled in life. And that's a very honest, I mean, for years I never wanted to say it, but then I realized when you accept it, it becomes so much easier and it makes so much more sense. So I'm sure my father really would have hated again if he would be here to listen to it. But I think as we grow up, we also accept and we see parents and people around us in a much more objective light. I mean, that does not diminish the love by even 1%, but it is just the fact that I have a different choice too.
However, ma'am, how much I agree to you, I will not agree on one point that your father might not have liked, would have loved to hear what you have just said.
Who knows, he probably would have said, you know, that's why we did that.
Anyways, so I would now let audience share anything that they want to share in case they have any questions or any inputs or any thought they want to share with our guests here and or the wider audience. So open to
Okay, so in terms of facing stereotypes, I think generally in tech world, in spite of many tech leaders, like women leaders in tech, not specifically for beauty pageant, but I do see biases in the tech industry even now against women. That's still there. It's getting better for sure. As more and more of us are getting into the tech industry, I think that's definitely slowed down. But I think like most companies are embracing it well. But I still like there are companies and you know there are people that always I think not from so it mostly comes from the front that okay, you're a woman, you come from a certain background, so you probably won't get it. Can I speak to somebody who is like
True.
Yeah, so, and not in those words obviously,
Right.
but they will find subtle ways to say it. So those things happen. Sure, and this is, that's prevalent in every industry, that there is a certain bias like that. But I've honestly struggled with that a lot. Should I react? Should I say something? Should I stay quiet and just ignore it and we'll see? So I personally have struggled with it a lot. But I think the best way to do it is at least, and honestly I should not say best way because I don't know what the best way is. And after a period of time the perception changes. And all credit to the women who are doing amazing work out there that's helping change that perception. So thank you to all of you for that.
And that's such an interesting, thing. When you start working, and especially if you are younger and prettier, like in your case, probably when you would have started and known also, as Miss India. I think the stereotypes are so difficult to break, and I'm so glad. I remember 20 years back when I started working, people would really look down on women who would, like to dress and come. I still remember I was working in one of the largest companies in the country, and I will not name it. I remember we were doing an appraisal of a girl. I'm not saying it. So I remember there was an appraisal, and there was this really pretty young scientist, a very intellectual girl, and she was very fond of different shoes, and her shoes would always be in sync with the dress. And her manager, so he said something was not done on the KRA, and he said, the time you spend to find matching shoes, if you would spend it. And I looked at him and I said, it takes exactly the same amount of time to wear any color shoe.
Yeah.
So probably, the woman doesn't have to travel in the morning. It takes as much time to wear a white shoe than a blue shoe or a black shoe. So yeah, the stereotypes are there, but it has changed. And a lot to do with the neo-banking industry, when all the MNC banks came in, it was interesting.
At least for, if we speak of what our organization is doing, with I think 18% is our workforce who are female, right?
Yeah, we toggle between 18 and 20s.
Yes. And then to be labeled as a great place to work, I think we're doing the right things. And a larger workforce is female and they're feeling good to work here. Right? So hopefully for that. That's I think 5 in a year in a row, right? It's a great place.
This is the fourth.
Wow.
So it's back to back. Yes. I guess because we have more people who are employees, that's why they are better place to work. Anyways, so
all the men will beat him up.
No, I think I'm sure the men will agree.
Right. So I think so probably we'll announce the. So we had invited nominations from the partners and the Pan India as to who they feel who can symbolize the goal they feel, and we have received around 70 nominations for that.
Wow. 70. Oh my God, that's awesome.
So we tweaked a little bit. We were thinking of having just national winners, but then with the larger nomination that we have, we thought that we'll go ahead and have regional winners. So 2 from each region. So for this, so I'll start with East, right? We have Miss Prerna from Sanitary Emporium as one of the winners from East. And we have Mrs. Rekha from P2 Hardware, Raipur. So 2 winners from East. We have from North Miss Karishma Joshi from Gupta Brothers. And we have Miss Sakshi from Creation Wood Kraft, Agra. Again, West. Sadly, nobody from Mumbai this time. So, Miss Sakshi Jain from Edge Hardware, Indore. And Miss Shefali from Idle Hardware, Surat. I'm seeing a lot of diversity here. So, representation from all the states now. So, now from South, we have Miss Deepika from Varun Innovations, Bangalore. and Miss Madhavi from Tas Hardware, Hyderabad. And from our side on the 8 winners, thank you so much to you. The team will get back to you with the mementos and the trophies. I'm so thankful to Shilpa and Padma ma'am for taking out time and being with us and sharing your journey with us. And I'm sure I have a lot of takeaways, right? Except for one, that when you said your father will not agree with us. Sorry for repeating it, and I'm sure audience must have have taken good takeaways and see and go on that exploratory journey of understanding yourself. That will be a bold step for us to do, right? So thank you all of you. Thank you Shilpa. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Right, thanks everybody who's on the call. Thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations to all the winners. Thank you so much for keeping the spirit of being bold and being you. Good luck.
Hafele, let's reimagine.